With us now after the game is Melrose coach Ryan Dusha. Coach, before we talk about this game and your team, I'll just run by some scores. Montevideo wins at Sauk Center, 64-60. And it looks like the Morrison Bowl game was postponed for tonight. West Central easily over Benson, 86-53. And with about 2 to go, Albany leads at Osakis, 68-47. What are your thoughts as you hear those?
Yeah, kind of surprising that Montevideo would beat Sauk, but yet not surprising, right? I mean, we've talked about how the talent level and the different things that people have in our conference and our section, you're not overly surprised with a lot of scores, but certainly winning at Sauk Center, anybody winning at Sauk Center this year is not going to be an easy thing to be able to do.
I was thinking about this watching Melrose play here tonight. This may sound kind of dumb, but you drop a play, you have your offensive sets to score a basket, right?
Yeah, so that's what we're going to try to do.
It's almost satisfying when they actually run the play correctly and an easy basket.
Right. I mean, one of the things we've talked about is, you can have all the plays you want, but it's the players. And they need to be able to read, what's happening with defense. And as you get going into the season, into January and February, people know what you're doing. I mean, there's tape everywhere, and you can see it. So we need to continue to get to where, we're reading things. And if our defense plays us one way, we're going to go the other way. We hope that none of our plays or any of our offense isn't predicated on, well, if they take our number one option away, then what do we do? And so that's just always a learning process about understanding the game, understanding space, understanding what they're trying to do. But yeah, of course, it looks great when it goes in, when the three goes in, or you get a layup or something like that.
And I'm sure every team and every player is so different, and that's where, as a coach, you have to read to where, does he really understand what I'm talking about here?
Right, and we talk about position flexibility too, that we want to move guys around to different spots, whether, you're on – one time you're on a wing, one time you're at a point, one time you're at a post, and take advantage of mismatches. And that takes repetition and it takes IQ to be able to do it. And throughout the years, what we've noticed so much is, seniors get it. They usually have that because they've had at least 2 years of varsity practice, and they do some of those things where it takes time. I mean, that's what basketball is so beautiful, because it takes a rhythm, and it takes there's a certain cadence to the game always. And so when those things happen, we're flowing, you have 5 guys moving together on offense and defense. That's when it looks so nice.
I'm always just so impressed with watching Ronnie Engelmeyer play, because he's got every move out there, doesn't he?
He does. And, we've just kind of made comments as coaches about how high of a level that he's played this year. And we just take him for granted, Mark. I mean, let's just call it what it is that people just kind of take what he does for granted, that his shot preparation is good. How teams are guarding him. He's just smart. He doesn't get rattled on things. And, what we're seeing out of him right now is such high-level basketball, offensively, defensively, leadership-wise. And, just coming out of a timeout today, for example, is I can't remember the situation, but I believe there was 9 seconds on the shot clock, and we were on defense. And I didn't notice it. And he was, 9 seconds of solid D. Let's go. Finish with a rebound. And he was just that high IQ type player. And he's a fun player to watch.
I guess even as I keep on asking you about him, and you kind of already said, but I always look at a star player, and you always have that thought in your head, how does he make his teammates better? In what ways do you see that Engelmeyer does that, even though he scored 28 tonight, but he gets everybody else involved, though?
He does. I think one of the ways he makes his teammates better is by drawing the attention of other teams, and people play off of him. And the other part is that he doesn't take bad shots. And sometimes those kind of high-level players, you don't sometimes want them to take bad shots because you want them to be aggressive. But he just doesn't take bad shots, and he's always in a good spot. And he knows that people are going to overplay him and double him so that guys will be open. And the other thing, too, is like he doesn't get frustrated at his teammates if they don't get him the ball when he's there or whatever the case might be. He's just very positive with his teammates. And I think that, when you're playing a team game, you got to have all those little intricacies there that make a difference, and he certainly has that.
Here's what I liked about Connor Anderson tonight. He was 0 for 4 shooting right away, but he shot, and the next one goes in. You have to have that mindset, don't you?
For sure, and he shot such a high percentage this year. He was 0 for 4, and it's kind of like, what's wrong, because that's usually been 2 for 4 at least throughout the year. But but he's got that shooter's mentality. He even said, "Man, what's wrong?" I'm like, nothing. You better keep shooting. And we don't care if he misses 10 in a row. He better shoot the 11th. And so that's just a great mindset for him. And so it was good tonight that we have to be able to win games when him or Ronnie aren't on. And CA was a little bit off tonight, which is fine, and we were able to get the W.
Granted, those two have to score, but you need solid play out of everybody else. What are you seeing now with the rest of these guys out there?
Yeah, they play off one another, and they each have strengths. And, like tonight, Braden Domeyer hurt his thumb, and so he didn't play tonight, and he's a guy that we rely on a lot. But we really just try to preach to our guys on offense and defense, but specifically on offense, just play to your strengths. If you're a good driver, drive. If you're a good screener, screen. If you can shoot the three, shoot the three, and don't try to do too much and really try to simplify the game, because what we don't want anybody out there is we don't want them thinking, right? We want them reacting and spacing. And so we really just try to do that. And our guys, for the most part, have just done that. They try to find where they can fit in. And that's really what January and February have tried to develop. And where can you use your strength as a player?
I always find, and I'm really guilty with this, we spend so much time talking about offense. How is the Melrose defense right now?
Yeah, I would say pretty good. We like where we're at, and we know that we're going to have to be good because we're not a team that's just going to score in the 70s consistently. So we feel pretty good about where we're at and pretty scrappy. We don't have the greatest size, so we have to be very disciplined with our defense. And sometimes we get kind of we get kind of out of whack a little bit with our positioning on defense, but we're a stickler for that, and we don't want guys to feel like they have to be perfect, but we want to try to simplify it on defense. So to answer roundabout way to answer your question, we feel pretty good about where we're at, but we're never going to be totally satisfied.
I remember for a while you were doing, I don't know how it went, like a made basket zone, missed, and all that. I have no idea what you were doing, but do you feel like you'll get back to that kind of with this team?
Yeah, I don't think so. I've said throughout the years I'm kind of a stubborn man-to-man guy, and if we're going to go down, we're going to go down with that, and then we feel we're better at that. And so, but for the last many years, we've had long players and we've had some length, and so we've had to introduce some zone with that. And it's certainly something that we have, and we have to have a change-up zone and press and different things just to be able to kind of throw a wrinkle into teams with that. So certainly zone will be something that we would have to change up on teams.
Maybe one final point here after the game against Osakis. Osakis won last Tuesday, but then had a close one over Montevideo. What is the team's mindset after taking a loss like that? How did they react to that?
The best thing was playing the next day, and I think I'm not sure we beat Montevideo on that day without playing Osakis the night before and the physicality that went along with it. And so the mindset was great. We came that next day and we were just ready to go and ready to rock. And, and even though we got down 11 or 12 or whatever we got down, our guys just stayed with it. So I think that's a great attribute of our guys. And even tonight, we had a little lulls on some things, but we just kept going.
And I know you don't want to look ahead because you got Benson and hopefully a win there on Friday night. And then next week, Holdingford, who is not that bad.
Nope.
And the big one with Sauk Center, right?
Yep. Yeah, so I think it's a mindset for anybody is to take the moment in front of you. Like tomorrow's our most important practice because it's the one in front of us. And I think our team has done a pretty good job of that. Sure, you always know what's coming in a schedule and all of that stuff. But really, I think a championship mindset is just focusing on what's in front of you and trying to get better and try to add new wrinkles and what aren't we doing good at, and really self-evaluating. So that's what we try to do.
I just want to say one more thing, too, because I won't see you until you play Sauk Center on the 19th. What else is going on that night?
Yeah, so we have the reunion of the 1970 through 74 teams, the 5 straight years of state teams, and 71 and 74 were state champions. So we're invited everyone back, and we'll just introduce the people right before the national anthem that are in attendance. I think we got about 8 to 10 right now that have RSVP'd that they'll be back, and just try to bring those guys back. And celebrate the great history of Dutchman basketball in that era. And then the next day we have our alumni tournament, so it should be a great weekend of Dutchman hoops.
No, I think, too. Do younger players even realize or understand the history of Melrose basketball?
They do in the sense that we tell them about it, but I don't think they have any conception of how important it was in the 70s and how big it was and how the talk of the town and the talk of the state was that. I mean, they just see the banners and they hear us talking about it, but I don't think they understand the 70s real well, but we're proud, Mark. We're proud of our history, and we lean into that these guys are the next in a long line of Dutchman players, and people are watching, even if they're not at the games, even if they're not in the community, if they're somewhere else, they always kind of look around, and they always have that Melrose spirit for life. And so we feel like it's our duty to carry on that torch, and we take that very seriously.
You know, I always think back to, we all remember Mark Overding and all those guys, and I remember Butch Manning. He was a lefty, sat on that wing, and he could drain shot after shot.
Really? See, I know the name, and I know that Butch coached at Park Cottage Grove and was Sam Jacobson's high school coach and was a great basketball mind, and he's going to be there. But I didn't know what type of player he was. But looking at the stats, I know that he was a very good player. And it's fun to be able to see. Of course, those guys are like, well, if we had the three-point line, I would have had way many more points and things like that. But it's fun to be able to celebrate history, and you have to celebrate that to be able to pass on that to future generations.
Yeah, I always look at a player like him because, again, when you looked at him, I remember seeing him at the state tournament back. I was in high school then, too, and I'm going, Look at this guy. He doesn't even really look like a basketball player, but he could stand there and don't play horse against that guy.
He'll make it. Those guys, lefties can always shoot.
Yeah? Oh, God, he was great. All right, well, thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Mark.
All right.